Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. There will be a few people who will join throughout, but this is a live event, so you should be able to put it back to the start. Today's presentation is going to be mostly around the expedition side of things for the DofE Bronze, but we will start with an overview of where people should be and what we need to be achieving with regards to the eDofE accounts and how things are going. So if there are questions, we're going to have an open Q&A box. So there should be a Q&A section that you can write your questions into. Please put any questions you like into this throughout the presentation. Doesn't matter if you think it's a silly question, it might be a burning question that other people have. When I come to the end of the presentation, we'll go into that Q&A and I will read through these. Some of the questions might have already been answered during the presentation, but otherwise I'll go through as many as I can and we'll try and wrap things up for about 6:45. If there are lots and lots of questions, we will look to extend possibly to around 7 o'clock, but after that I'll try and respond to those questions. If I don't get to you, please email me if you still need an answer to those questions. So lots of you hopefully have seen me either during the big presentation that I gave to all parents. Some of the pupils won't have. So my name's Mr. Payne. I'm in charge of DofE and also all of the outdoor education at school. We've got exciting things that have been introduced this year and hopefully more over the next few years. With your DofE, the first thing that I want to look at is where should you be now as a participant? So hopefully everyone will have seen the tasking on Satchel 1, and that tasking was all about logging in and accessing your account and then beginning to fill in the information on all of your sections. So you can see across the bottom here we've got the bar with what you should have. So you should have 3 months volunteering, 3 months physical, 3 months skill, and then you should have chosen one of these to become 6 months. So it might be that you've chosen physical or skill or volunteering. All of these can be backdated back to September. So when I put your accounts as live, they should be able to be backdated to September. So if you started something, that can count. It's absolutely fine if you've only just started doing any of these sections. For your DofE kind of final and for finishing it off, if you want to move on to silver, we ask that you have definitely finished by next October half term. But if you wish, you can continue doing your bronze DofE or all the way through to your gold up to the age of 25. So it will remain live and all of your accounts should be live for that. So the thing that I hope you have all done is logged in either online, like in this picture, so gone onto the eDofE website and logged in using your username, which should have come directly from DofE, and then your date of birth will be your password to begin with, and you should have reset this to something memorable. If you forget your username, please just email me and I'll be able to give you that username. And if you are struggling to access even after having your username and you need a password reset, we can start this. Sometimes it takes time and there are issues, at which point we can escalate it further beyond me to the DofE manager of the Southeast. So we should be able to help you access as much as possible. You've either logged in through the eDofE portal and hopefully you've either done this or can do this now if you're sitting at home, have also downloaded the eDofE app. The eDofE app's really useful because it's excellent at helping you to add evidence. With all of these things, you should have added the information that you want as your program planner. That program planner should have then been submitted so that I can say yes or no. A few of you have asked for a few things that I've rejected on the DofE account. So I had someone in bronze, so one of you today, look through the account and you've asked for your assessor to be a parent. So there's a few things that you might see, and if for any reason there's been a rejection of either section because it's the wrong one, you've put in a skill and it should have been a volunteering, or you've done something a little bit incorrect, you'll have a response from me on your eDofE system. So that will be a response, and it will be in the messages section. It will say something along the lines of, please change your assessor from me to a different person. As your DofE manager, I'm not allowed to be your assessor. So things that you really need to think about, and things that can often stump people, are people finding assessors. So an assessor is someone who needs to be an adult and they can't be a family member. It might be that they are to do with the activity that you're doing, or it could be a neighbour. Really good assessors can be people like your form tutor or a teacher at school as well. So hopefully you found assessors. Importantly, please do ask your assessors about being an assessor before you start doing your DofE. Often participants will look into who they want to be their assessor. Never tell them, and at the end of 3 or 6 months say, oh, I've been doing this for my DofE, can you write me an assessor's report? Not ideal, so please do talk to them. If you haven't already, make sure you speak to them, let them know that you're using whatever it is that you're doing with them, or using them as your assessor. Next, what you need to do is add evidence to your DofE. This is where the eDofE and particularly the DofE app is really useful. The best form of evidence for when you're doing any part of your section, say it's volunteering, is taking a quick picture, which is done through the app, where you pick manage evidence, and there's a little section that will say, I would like to add a picture, take the picture there and then when you're doing your actual activity, and then it will upload straight away. It's important that you don't click on the this evidence is my assessor's report box, because that will have to be rejected unless it is an assessor's report. And that's the next thing that people often get wrong. There are 2 forms of assessor report that can be accepted at DofE at the moment. The first is filled in online, and I'm just opening up the link to this now. The bar across the top, and I will make sure that you are sent this both at home in letters, but also in emails and via Satchel 1 for assignments. The bar across the top will contain that website address. The website address gives you the eDofE online assessor report. Normally, to access that, your assessor will have to put in their email address, and it just is one of those multi-factor authentication systems that allows them to access this screen. The information they need from you will be your participant ID, followed by the level. So for you guys, it will be bronze. And then what are they assessing? So the drop down would normally say volunteering, physical, skill, or expedition. It then does a little check to make sure that your number is correct, and it will give them a page. Because I don't have a number plugged in, it won't pop up, but that page will pop up and give them prompts on what to do. Once they click submit that report will go directly onto your DofE system. So that's the first way to gain an assessor's report, through the eDofE website, through www.dofe.org/assessor. The next is in your booklets. So hopefully if you've put your home address in correctly and you've logged in, you'll have your eDofE booklets. The little booklets come with an extra kind of information sheet, but also this specific booklet. This is a gold one, and this is the volunteering page. The page that you're looking for is this one in the bottom right corner. Really importantly, for it to be valid as a DofE assessor report, you have to make sure that your start date and end date match what you've got on your DofE system. So if you've said you started on the 1st of September, then the start date should always say 1st of September. And if you're completing it over 6 months, then you would put the finish date, and they need to match what's in your eDofE. The same prompts that you get on the eDofE system through that assessor report link are in the booklet. It's things like, how has this participant achieved their goals, and any other comments. That needs to be filled in next. That's what makes the bulk of the report. And then at the bottom, we just ask that it's signed, dated, and added as a signature. As a participant, you'll get this book back. And what we'd like you to do is we'd like you then to take a picture of that and then upload it as evidence on your DofE. At this point, this is where you can use the little tab on your upload evidence that will add in to say, yes, this is your assessor report. If you have that, then you've completed that section. So hopefully that will give you an overview of the next little bit that you need to do with regards to your sections. The main bulk of what we're going to talk about today is your expeditions. So we know that our expeditions are taking place from the end of Easter with our DofE training, and then on our early May and late May bank holidays. What we need to think about is next Wednesday is when groups are going to be formed, okay? Because we have around 190 participants, we need to make sure that each group is the maximum allowed for DofE or as close as possible to it. So we're asking that you come and have a group of 6 other people to make a group of 7 in total, okay? Next Wednesday, I'll come with a load of sheets for you to write your names down on who's going to be in your group with you. If you haven't spoken to your friends and haven't worked out who this will be, you have a week to do this. We will fix groups as 7 as soon as possible after this. The only exceptions to this are if there are reasons that school has that certain people might not need to be together or can't be together, or if there's an issue around things like whether or not you can attend the final DofE expedition. So if you know that you are one of these people who can't attend the final because you're on another trip or have another activity, you should have been contacted by me and been made aware that there will be a catch-up weekend, and that'll have happened separately. Okay, so groups should be 7, and I'll bring all the sheets for you guys to fill in next week, and it will be next Wednesday lunchtime. You'll find me in the quad. Hopefully it won't be raining, because otherwise I'll need to set up a little bit extra space, but I'll make sure that's in Letters Home this Friday, as well as emailed out to you as reminders. Next is just the short video that you may have seen already, just those highlights from DofE expeditions last year. It's here to kind of inspire you guys. DofE is all about you guys independently working together, and expeditions is the kind of pinnacle of this. You guys will come together and you will be supervised remotely on your final, but it is your adventure. So just a quick video and then we'll carry on. Lovely. So this year, sorry, it's just gone onto a new video.
Hi everyone.
So this year is going to be the largest bronze DofE that school has ever seen, and you guys will have that opportunity to take advantage and go from bronze into silver and gold. And a big part of doing that is doing your doing your bronze really well. So we've got a partnership with a company called Lupine Adventures, and Lupine Adventures are going to help us to be able to facilitate all 188 of you who have signed up for bronze. There's a couple of things that they do for that. So you'll have access to a DofE expedition course notebook, which will be part of your training. So our training is going to take place on the 26th or 27th of April, and this is the last weekend of the Easter holidays. The groups that we have will be split so that we have half on one day, half on the other. So you'll only be needing to be in for a single day. We're looking at the times to be from about 8:30 till about 4, so like a normal school day. Teams 1 to 13, roughly, will look to go on a Saturday, and teams 14 to 26 will go on a Sunday. When I organise the teams, this will be mostly random and will be kind of whoever has given me their sheet of paper with 7 to begin with. But if you are aware that you or people in your team are not going to be able to be available on, say, the Saturday or the Sunday, I'll ask you to write that at the top so I can try and prioritise people within teams. If you know that you are one person who can't attend, say, a Sunday, but the rest of your team can, maybe think about changing your team so that you can be with other people. What we want to do is make sure that our teams remain together so that we don't have people training as a group that aren't going to be on their practice and final together. We're going to run this at school. It's going to be based predominantly at Mary Bennett House, and will be a normal pickup kind of drop off for you guys, like I say, around 9 till 4. All final details of this will be sent out to everyone beforehand though. After completing our practice, we're going to, our training, we're going to go on to our practice. Okay, I'm just going to nip back. As well as our training that is going to take place in person, I want to point people towards the new YouTube playlist. So as I open this up, you'll have a load of options available to you to help with your training. We want you guys to be at the very best when it comes to doing your DofE. So we want you to be as prepared as possible. What I've produced is a series of different training videos for you guys to take advantage of, and you'll be sent these. There's information on things like sleeping bags and sleeping mats, cooking using a trangia, cooker safety, and how to pitch your tent. So all of these videos will ask you to watch between your training and your practice expedition. You've got about a week or two. Added to this, we've got a full series that it's to do with how to map read at the bronze level. So those 4 or 5 videos will be sent to you as an assignment that will take place after your training and before your practice. The practice will take place on the 3rd and 4th of May. So it's a 2-day practice. We'll have an overnight at a place called Bentley Copse Scout Camp. And there will be a mix of what's called close and remote supervision. So to make sure that you guys are all best prepared for your DofE final, we will have instructors go out with you and they'll walk with you to make sure that the practical navigation training side of things happens on the ground. So you'll do a little bit, you'll certainly route plan, and you'll learn about the theory of navigation on your training day, but your first day on practice will be dedicated to doing that in person. The next day will be what's called remote supervision. So your instructors will leave you and they'll meet you throughout the day, wanting you to navigate independently from point to point. If you're really good, they might leave you for longer, so you might see them once or twice. If you need extra tuition, they'll step in and give you that extra tuition ready so that you know and they know that you're ready for your final. I've put on the side this kind of little information piece. We will be dropping off at a place called Hurtwood Car Park, and there's always a map link to this. There is a specific way that we would like people to pick up and drop off when this happens, really relevant to parents, and it's because the area that we're going to has very slim single lane roads, so we want people to go in from the north, come out from the south, and that's what this kind of infographic is all about on our right hand side of the screen there. So the information before this expedition will come out, and it will just be a reminder of how that happens. When we pick up, however, at the end of this expedition, so that's the end of the practice, on the 4th, it will be at Ranmore Common Car Park, and this is a really large car park. Sometimes, if we're lucky, there'll also be a coffee van, but that's not always the case. Groups do come in at different times, so as people walk, you might need to think about the average group will come in around 3 o'clock, but we'll also share some tracking data with you that you should be able to access through your phones to work out where your group is. And I will normally do that on the last day of an expedition. Lets people at home, parents at home, kind of look at when they need best to leave. Both of these car parks, so Hurtwood and Ranmore Common, are around 45 minutes drive from school. Okay. Our final will take place on the 24th and 25th of May, and this is the last May bank holiday, just before, or the last weekend of May half term, before May half term. Again, it will be an overnight, and this will be a remote supervised expedition. So everyone will turn up with all the equipment they need, and you will go and do your expedition independently with the supervisors seeing the groups throughout the day, but not walking with them. Okay. As I say, remote supervision. Drop off and pick up will be around the Cranley area, which is around 45 minutes to an hour from school, but we're yet to confirm the full details of this expedition. Essentially, what we're looking at is to make sure we can get everyone into the same campsite and have the same pickup and drop off location. So all of the final details will be given to you, parents, and to you guys as pupils before the expedition, and that will come out as a letter, and we'll also have an information book with that. Okay, so what ifs. So the biggest what if is, what if I can't make part of this package? So we're looking at a training day, a practice, and a final expedition. We want as many people as possible to be able to attend as much as possible. We're really aware that the school has a lot going on. There might be a rowing event, there might be some other extracurricular events that you need to go to. The requirement of DofE to pass the bronze expedition section is that you attend the final and that you complete that final. So that means you need to be there on the Saturday, overnight, and on the Sunday, and that you've walked or travelled for 6 hours on each day. The package that we have for you is here to give you the best opportunity to have the best time, but also the best level of training for that experience. But if you can't attend all of the other parts, which is the training and the practice, you can still attend your final. We do ask that if that's you as an individual, that's not your entire group, because we wouldn't feel comfortable letting an entire group go without. The addition of things like our instructional videos and other parts are there to help to reinforce that training. If you are in this situation, please do email to let me know that there's an issue and that you may not be able to attend. If you can't attend the final because you're on another trip, we should have already had that conversation with you. So you should know that there's a expedition that will be put on at the end of August, so that those people who are unable to attend can attend a final at that point. This is really limited on numbers, because we also will do the same with the silvers who are unable to attend their finals. Okay, so with your expedition, we're going to give you a big kit list. And that kit list will have all sorts in it. During your practice, there will be things in that kit list that you think, this is really useful, and your instructors will talk to you about the pros and cons of what you actually really need day by day. The things that you'll get from school for every group is the group equipment. Every group will have access to 3-man tents, and that would normally be 3 per group. So you'd normally have 2 people in one 3-man tent, and then everyone else in another 2 3-man tents, and that gives us our group of 7. We'll give you first aid kits, and this is group first aid kits, 1 per group. You'll have cookers, and this will include all the pots and pans and the gas that you need for your expedition. And then we'll give you maps, and per group we can also lend you compasses. If you have your own compass though, you can do this. All of this equipment is provided as part of the package. I will have advertised the DofE equipment sets, and we have managed to increase the number of sets that we have. We started with 7, but we are now on 27 sets. Currently, there are around 35 people who would like a set, which isn't enough for everybody. I will try and see if we can extend this, but at the moment, the budget has only gone as far as to be able to get these 27 sets. If that does affect you, hopefully you can make use of the DofE participant cards to buy equipment for your DofE expeditions at a cheaper level. So they often give you around 20% off, and I'm really sorry that there isn't currently a set for everyone. If that does change for all of those who desire a set, and I will have had the response from you, I will inform you as soon as we are able. What we're doing at the moment is we'll work it as apparently first come. I meant to put first come, first serve on that. So if when the letter came out, you responded early to that email to say, would you like equipment? That will be top of the list. If you responded later, that'll be bottom of the list. And as I say, if there are more opportunities, or if I can wrangle some more funding from school to extend these equipment sets, I will let people know. So what's next with regards to our kind of needs for a participant and needs for a parent? So as a participant, what we'd like to see you do is add evidence to each of your sections. As a minimum, we'd like to see that there is one piece of evidence backing up your 3 months of experience for your different sections. So that's your physical, your skill, and your volunteering. When it comes to evidence for your expedition, this will be done slightly differently, and you'll get an assessor's report from your assessor at the end, and you'll debrief with me as your presentation so that that will all be sorted. Things that you do need to add as evidence for your DofE expedition are the start locations and end locations of that expedition, and that will be specifically postcodes that you need to put into your DofE system. All of those will be shared with you via letters home, so please take that when you know you're doing your practice, add that in. We'll ask that you finish each section before gaining your assessor's report, so don't ask for an assessor report early, and that you complete any DofE assignments that we send to you on Satchel 1. The assignments will be mostly to prompt you to complete, as opposed to be kind of hard deadlines like homework is. As a parent, there's a few things we'd ask you to do to help to support. We need everyone to complete the lupine permission slip online, and that would have been sent last Friday. We will be updated by Andy, who's the lupine cooperative director, and he'll let us know if we are missing any participants from the list that we've shared with them. Andy and his team will also call you if there are any further needs that you've put into that permission slip. So it'll be medical, it'll be any thing that might affect from a educational needs point of view or from a physical point of view that you'll share. His team will call to make sure that they have all the information that they need to facilitate our expeditions for all of the young people to the best of the ability. If for any reason there are needs to make changes, we can do that. So for example, if you know that your daughter's fallen and hurt her back, she's not necessarily needing to go to hospital, it's not serious, but it could harm her to do her expedition with a heavy pack. We might be able to look at how we can alter that by reducing weight impact. So there's lots of things that we can do as a school, and I'll be working closely with Andy to make sure that we can facilitate everything for everyone. So that brings us mostly to the end of the presentation side of things. I will shortly go into the question and answers, but for further information, we're going to be sending letters home. This will be prior to each expedition or the training. There'll be a few Satchel 1 assignments. I'll communicate to everyone pupil-wise via emails, and you'll also see that there'll be eDofE messages on the online system. For the DofE expeditions, we're looking to put together a single information pack over the next kind of couple of weeks. So hopefully we should be able to send this out to you just after February half term. For now, what we're going to do, I'm going to hopefully look to stop sharing my screen with you, and we're going to open up for the question and answer session. As I say, if there are any questions, please pop this down. It should have hopefully popped up in the corner. I'll then go through these Q&As and we'll be able to look to answer as many as possible. If we get to a point where we're starting to run low on time, what we'll do is I'll put an end to the Q&A and look to do this via email. So if you do have any burning questions at all, please do email. Okay, so I'm just going to come on to the Q&A now. Hopefully we're sharing. Okay, so we've got a couple of questions. Hopefully I've answered a lot of what you may have asked before. So if anyone has chosen physical as the 6-month section, but wants to change this to skill to 6 months, how can we do that? So on the eDofE system, it's possible to change that by going into the system and going to a section that's known as timescales. Okay, if you're having problems, I'm going to be running a Friday lunchtime drop-in session in the library. So any problems that there might be, I will be in the library on a Friday from 1 o'clock. So if you're having trouble and you can't do those things, please come in and see me and I'll try and help you either do it yourself or can override it from my end. Okay, so can you have a different assessor for each section, volunteering, skill, etc.? Yes. We ask actually that where relevant, you use the person that is most relevant to you to help to do that. So if you are looking at having an assessor, you could use the same person for all of it. They would need to write 3 assessor reports. Or what is even better is if you're doing something like baking, which I know there's a group of girls that are doing this. So there's a group that are doing baking and they are baking specifically to give the kind of product of their baking over to Kingston Hospital as they're volunteering. So those people might be baking at home. You can't use your parent, but what you can do is use a friend's parent. Okay, so those people would have that and that parent as their assessor for volunteering. But if they're doing rowing at school, it might be better to use your rowing coach, or it might be better for your skill if you're doing computing to use your personal tutor or a teacher at school for that. Okay, so how do we evidence doing things back to September? So evidencing it isn't necessarily required if you have one piece of evidence that supports that you've been doing this activity. So your evidence for, say, netball might be a picture of you playing netball. The important thing is when you do your section part, if you put the start date to September. Okay, that will show that you've started in September, and then it will give you your potential end date being 3 months later. Your evidence needs to be more backed up by what your assessor's report says. So when you get your assessor report, that needs to show that you started in September and finished after those 3 or 6 months. Can the start date be changed on the form if they have been entered it from now? Yes, if you want to do that, send me an email and I will override it and just change your start date for that section for you. That, or you can revert the whole section to draft, which will allow you to do that individually. Next question, how much activity to do within 3 months activity? 1 hour per week, about right. Yes, so the requirement for your activity is 1 hour per week. That can't be, I'm going to do 12 hours at the beginning or end. With DofE, the requirement is that you are committing 1 hour per week. So if you did 12-hour football challenge, that is not 12 weeks of activity. With DofE, that would count as 1 week of activity. Amazing, but what DofE is looking for is that commitment from the start to the finish across the time scale. Okay. So next question. So daughter's identified volunteering activity with an experienced DofE charity. Does she need to have the approval by me to do this? No, unless you suspect that there is an issue with it. The approval will come through me anyway. So anything that is submitted as I would like to do this, I will get an alert on the eDofE system. And that eDofE system is checked by me before it's approved. So there are 3 or 4 sections that go into start to finish. So your section will start off as a draft, then you submit to say what you want to do as your program planner for approval. So the approval comes from me through that. Okay, I will look at it and it might say volunteering for a stables. I'll look at it and I'll see if that stables is a business or if it's some sort of charitable space. Some businesses won't be approved to be able to be your volunteering, for example. So it'd be great to be able to volunteer at a local shop, but if that local shop is a business and they're using you for free labor, that's not volunteering. That's a company using your goodwill. So it will go through an approval process, but that will be through DofE by clicking the submit for approval button. So we never received our DofE pack in the post. Can you send another? I can't send them, but I do have a few spares in the office. So please come by on a lunchtime if you need a spare. I don't have hundreds, but there are a few. Next question is, do they have to evidence 1 hour per week? At Bronze, we don't require that you evidence 1 hour per week. It's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful when people do. It gets people into the mindset of making sure that they are showing where they're doing things and how they're doing it. However, at Bronze, it's not a requirement. Okay, we like to see that there's an assessor's report, and that assessor's report is essentially evidencing that whole time that individual has been doing their section. We also would love to see one other piece of evidence, which can be a written piece of evidence or a picture. Pictures are often really easy, which is why the DofE app's really great. So we look to do that. If people want to add, say they're doing cooking, a picture of the meal that they've made that week, absolutely do. We encourage that. It's wonderful. And we will look through all of the pieces of evidence that are submitted for that. If you're doing cooking as a skill, does it need to be a specific course? No, and I'd actually encourage it not to be as much as possible. Specific courses will often ask you to pay, and the skill progression will be down to what they want. Whereas if you're looking to use a cooking or baking as a skill, absolutely perfect. I would encourage that you do that at home. It is wonderful when our young people cook dinner for us. Um, I would love my son, although he's not quite old enough to cook me dinner, as opposed to the other way round. So please encourage it. Think about how you do that as a family. But the important thing is that you will need someone else to assess that cooking. So it might be that you invite neighbours round and the participants cook for neighbours or their friends, or they do it around someone else's house, or it's baking that they share with people. Equally, they might just take pictures of the things that they've cooked and upload that. If I do cooking as a skill, is it 1 hour per week as well? Yes, so everything is 1 hour per week, but that can be split down per day. So if you did 5 to 10 minutes per day on something, cooking probably wouldn't be particularly good for that. But if you were to do 5 to 10 minutes on Duolingo as a skill, that can work really well. So those sorts of things work really well. But what we can't do is chunk everything 12 hours and count it for the 3 months. Okay, so you can split your hour down per day, but you can't add that together. It works really well if you're looking to use things like walking to school as your physical. Not so well if you want to cook and progress your cooking skills. Okay. So should I have had the pack in the post already and I've only received the eDofE card? If you have logged in and put your address in correctly, you should have received that pack, that eDofE pack, back home. Should my daughter have received a physical ID card? Nope, there isn't an ID card, but you can apply online for the discount card. And then final question, what is the minimum number of people in a group for a DofE expedition? Okay, so for DofE itself, the required minimum number is 4. We can't facilitate the numbers that we have if we have groups of 4 because we facilitate our expeditions on training and on practice with 1 member of staff per team. So we ask that that becomes a group of 7. Okay, this is only at the bronze level that we'll be looking to do this, and this is purely because we have so many people with us. It might be that when we come down to all the groups and everyone signing up, that there is a smaller group or 2. But because we need the staffing, and currently we're looking at 25 or 26 professional guides to be training and doing the practice expedition, we are able to facilitate groups of 7 at the moment. When we go on to silver and gold, those groups can be larger or smaller as long as we can do that. So if you do choose to be in a smaller group and someone else chooses to be a smaller group, we will merge those groups together. You are much better choosing the 6 people you want to go with as opposed to having me merge your groups together because you might be with people that you wouldn't normally choose. Next question leading on from that, can a group be bigger, e.g. 8 or 9? No, the requirement for DofE is very strict. On expeditions, a group must be between 4 and 7. Okay, the only exception to that is if you are using a mode of travel that is tandem. So tandem kayaks or canoes means that you would then be able to have a group of 8. That's a DofE rule. My rule on expeditions would be we wouldn't normally accept a group going out any smaller than 5, and that would be at the bronze, silver or gold. That's because if you drop below the 4, so you go out an expedition with 4 people and someone drops out, you can't be approved as having completed your final as a group of 3. Okay, so groups really have a think about who you want to go with. I will try and smooth out things as best as possible, but we are looking at groups needing to be 7. If there are no more questions, then we will finish here in the next kind of 30 seconds or so. One more popped in, probably to do with groups. If some people in your group can't do the practice, but can do the actual expedition, is that okay? Yes. So if people are unable to make the practice, they can be in a group of people who are doing the final at the same time. We ask that you're in the same group to train, and that where possible, if you can make any part of that practice, we'd like you to attend. So it might be that you can do the Sunday but not the Saturday, so on and so forth. If, however, you know that you are unable to attend the final on the advertised dates, which is the 24th and 25th of May, you will need to be in a group with other people who also can't make those dates. Okay. Another question, if you're doing Duolingo as the skill component, is evidence screenshot of work or progress enough? Yep, that's absolutely perfect. You still need an assessor, so someone has to assess you. You can't have a section approved without an assessor's report written by an adult. Okay, so yes, screenshots perfect, but I'm afraid as a company, Duolingo won't be sending you assessor's report. So think about maybe using a teacher at school, maybe a language teacher, or your personal tutor or a family friend. You can do those things, maybe a neighbor. That would work. I think Duolingo can be a really good way of doing your skill. Equally, you might be doing things that you don't know are skills. So if you do anything to do with art, if you do anything to do with modeling or kind of building, even things like Lego. Computer gaming can count, so esports, those sorts of things can count as skills, and specific parts of certain sports might count as well. So if you play netball, you could be doing a skill of precise practice on shooting, and that can count as your skill. What you can't do is say that I'm doing 1 hour per week of netball and then count that as your skill as well as physical. Okay, so think about how that works. Any more questions at this point? I ask that you email to me. If you're a pupil in school, please come and see me on a Friday. I'm very happy to host as many of you who need to see me on a Friday as you would like. Mr. Humphreys might not like it if there's 300 people turn up to the library, but I am more than happy to help out as much as possible. Thank you very much for attending, everybody. I'll leave you to log off and we will be closing this meeting shortly. A video of this meeting we will look to open and send to everyone if you have attended or not. I tend to speak relatively slowly, so sometimes if you double speed that, it can save time, but please look at that. The next things that will happen will be Satchel 1 assignments and the filling in of the online forms for Lupine permission slips. Thank you very much.